Next slide. Okay, so the men's testosterone crisis is a global scale event. That's some guy from, I don't know, about 100 years ago. And when we look at it, statistically, when you look between the years of 1920 and 1960, testosterone levels in men dropped 14%. The related testosterone-binding protein dropped by 26% during that same 1920 to 1960 period. But it didn't stop there. Since the 1980s, we've seen a year-on-year 1% drop every year and continuing to this day in men's testosterone levels. You know, the 80s was 40 years ago at this point. I know because I was born then. And if we continue with this trend, masculinity as we used to know it is going to be a thing of the past, you know? And when we look at the crisis of fatherlessness in this country, and where a lot of the only masculine role models left are, you know, gangs and things like that that could be very negative, we're in a very much crisis. So the modern trend of things like gender confusion, rise in, you know, non-binary and all this other stuff, there's absolutely a spiritual aspect, and there is also very physical, medical, and hormonal things and environmental things that we can trace back to these events. Testosterone's dropping, homosexuality, transgenderism, all this stuff going up. There's a kind of a phrase that you'll hear around that hard times make hard men make easy times, times make soft men, and soft men lead to hard times. And so if we look at ourselves physically and as a culture, we're kind of in that soft men kind of time, and that's tough to say. And so anyway, we've got to fix that if we want to continue as a society. Next slide, please. This is a recent slide from, was it Kellogg's and their whatever Gay Pride Month thing, where they've got Tony the Tiger, Toucan Sam, all your favorite characters, and etc. And basically, the point of this is that this is garbage chemical food made from corporations that are at odds with your values. You know, and so these people are not your friends. We all saw the Bud Light thing. They're not your friends. So according to a 2023 review, regular alcohol consumption reduces your testosterone, fat cells, and excess fat, particularly in men, will lower testosterone levels by transforming testosterone and turning it into estrogen. The second way that obesity will lower your testosterone level is by decreasing what's known as SHBG, which is sex hormone binding globulin. This is a protein that is responsible for taking the testosterone that you do have left and transporting it to your muscles and your brain and your different organs so that you can actually use that testosterone as a man to get stronger. But not just be stronger, your testosterone levels are also going to drive your mental focus, your clarity, your drive and your vision, and this is going to directly impact everything from your career, your physical health, and also, you know, your family life. In a healthy marriage, my wife and I believe that a man's energy, and, you know, it's an adult term, but your sexual vitality will bring energy and drive, passion, and direction into a godly marriage. And we cannot have this if we're doing all these things that are lowering your testosterone level. So things like trans fats, regularly consuming trans fats, along with your processed foods, would also decrease testosterone level. Sugar and excess sugar consumption depresses testosterone levels because as insulin goes up, testosterone goes down as your body has to respond to those different hormones. But that's not all. We also have environmental toxins. I grew up in the 80s and grew up in the country, and it's like, oh, you got blackberries, let's spray Roundup, let's spray a crossbow, like whatever. And also, since the sexual revolution, which my wife will actually get into, there's also been massive millions of people taking hormonal birth control pills. And these things are also creating kind of a background toxicity that are all endocrine disruptors. So studies have shown that frogs in ponds and rivers in suburban areas around cities tend to be mostly female. And that study suggests that urbanization and estrogenic wastes, so toxic waste from these pesticides, birth control, because you take a birth control pill, it goes through your body, passes out that too much. Plastics, microplastics, and that these pesticides, these toxicities, and these runoff end up in the soil, end up in the water, and they're not really filtered out. And now frogs are becoming hermaphroditic, so intersex frogs, female frogs. And that is going to have an effect on everything in that environment. Yeah, we live in that environment. And so, surprise, we're seeing male testosterone dropping. We're seeing feminized frogs, intersex frogs. So next slide, please. This is actually me from a couple weeks ago. I was never in the military, but in my own life, I make an intentional effort to live out what I would consider a warrior culture. And so this is where it comes home to roost, is that, okay, so I can't control that frogs are hermaphrodites now. I can't control that. But what I can control is there's a lot of things that will raise your testosterone. Our great-grandfathers lived hard lives that forced them to be strong or just die. So in times gone by, it was either chop wood, kill an elk, or you starve or freeze to death. Now God has given us the blessing that we have to go voluntarily do that via exercise, via challenging each other with other men, building these communities, building that physical strength. Because if we don't, we will lose that testosterone. So physical exercise naturally increases testosterone in men by 21% if you do it consistently. Winning a competition will naturally raise your testosterone as well. Men are meant to be within a tribe, in a community. And so that competition isn't just it's not a tearing each other down competition. It's I know where I stand now. I have a place in the world. If I'm in 10th place, I'm trying to be in 5th place. Or maybe I'm not really good at this thing, but I can find some other aspect of this that I can be really, really good at. And I can be valuable to my community, and I can bond with other men while I'm getting stronger and getting better. And these things are scientifically proven to raise your testosterone. You cannot sit in a cubicle, consume the internet content, and expect to be a strong, hormonally healthy man. So men raise their testosterone, their self-esteem, through physical exertion and competing with other men. The Bible says that iron sharpens iron, and so one man sharpens another. This is not a platitude, this is a scientific fact. So my friends and I, we do these tactical rifle shoots, that me, plate carrier, night vision, thermal scope. We're out there, we're having fun, but we're also competing with each other. It's physically difficult. There's hundreds of pounds of steel targets that have to get dragged up a hill in the snow, in the rain, whatever. I'm not saying you have to do that, but whatever you're doing, get out and challenge yourself, because hard times might be coming, and even if they're not, if you never do it, you won't be able to. That's what I got. Testosterone.
It was very testosterone-y.
Eat steak, run up hills.
Eat steak, run up hills. Okay, next slide, please. So we're with some of the effects of testosterone. We see that it can affect the skin, the brain, with different we have some crossover with, and I'll get to another slide in a second, that we're seeing a rise in basically male menopause. It's called andropause. We're going to talk about it in a second. So this isn't just a female issue anymore. Next slide. Man on the left, not enough testosterone. Man on the right. Is that your left? Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, great. Yes, so what are the things? We see depression, increased risk of Alzheimer's disease, increased fat tissue, increased risk of ED. I'll just say that because we got kids in the room. Low libido, increased risk of osteoporosis. So we are also seeing more osteoporosis in men historically than we've ever seen, because they're full of estrogen, too high levels of estrogen and not enough testosterone, okay? When we have balanced testosterone, sharper mind, confidence, happy, increased muscle mass, healthy heart. There's a big misnomer that high testosterone is bad for the heart. It's actually not. That's not true at all. Strong, we'll just say intimate lives, strong bones, and plenty of energy. Okay, so that's what an optimized man should have. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so here is hormones that will, the man obviously is in the blue, the woman is in the red. We start to see the peak for men is around age 20, whereas women it's between 35 and 40 for as far as our peak hormone health. And then it starts to go down. It used to be that we'd see that lower testosterone around 80 years old for men, okay, where it just kind of drops off. I can tell you right now, I have teenagers in my office right now that do not have enough testosterone. Teenagers. I have a 16-year-old right now as a patient who has low testosterone to the point where we're probably going to have to supplement him with testosterone. Like this is serious stuff. Next slide, please. Okay, menopause and andropause. You can see in the middle, I'll just read it for you. We share these symptoms, men and women. Mood swings, depression, headaches, night sweats, insomnia, weight gain, and bone loss. We share those symptoms with each other. We have lots of, one of the things that men with low testosterone will complain about often is low or declining motivation, which is very interesting. They'll often say, well, I don't know, maybe I just have ADHD, you know. I said, let me check your hormone levels. Let's find out. Men who have optimized testosterone, they want to go after things. They're warriors. They're meant to be that way. They're King Davids, right? Menopause, let me define that for you. So menopause is actually a point in time 12 months after a woman's last period. So what if a woman doesn't have a period for 6 months and then on the 7th month they have a period? You're not in menopause. Clinically, you're not in menopause. You're not in menopause until you go 1 full year without a period. Sorry. Anything before that falls into the perimenopause symptoms, and we're seeing these symptoms younger and younger, right? I've got a 33-year-old going into premature ovarian failure right now, and she wants babies, okay? Genesis 18:10 through 13. Then one of them said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son. Now Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were already very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, after I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure? Then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Old, we think now, is 37. Does anybody know? I should have done like a Bible quiz. Anybody know how old Sarah was when she got pregnant with Isaac? 90, yeah. Right? So Sarah was around 90 years old when she gave birth to Isaac. On the 20th of August, 1997, a lady named Dawn Brooke in the UK became the oldest natural birth. Guess how old she was? She gave birth at what age? 47. Nope. No, that's Sarah.
Sarah, yeah,
That's Sarah. 59 years old. She conceived accidentally, having managed to ovulate past her last period. Isn't that great? 59. Is the Lord able to do anything he wants? Yes. Okay. More and more, we're treating women in their teens and 20s with hormonal problems, something called polycystic ovarian syndrome, which, by the way, all that means is you've got a metabolic disorder. You've got insulin resistance. It's pretty much pre-diabetes, you guys. And it's very common. and one of the top reasons for infertility right now. Women who have been on birth control for 30 to 40 years sometimes. Remember, the pill for every female ill. The combination pill, this is according to our friends at Planned Parenthood, they can help to prevent or lessen acne. Wouldn't that be great? Helps with acne. Bone thinning, cysts in your breasts and ovaries, endometrial and ovarian cancer, serious infections, iron deficiency, PMS symptoms. It's really good. And we have been sold this since we were very young, very safe. Oh, this is safe for everybody. So, any female who is taking the pill, you're going to be depleted in selenium, zinc, amino acids, tyrosine. You will suppress your own body's production of estrogen and progesterone. You will increase your risks of blood clots and strokes, especially if you're over 35. Birth control can actually thin our bones, leading to osteoporosis. So I don't want to hear, oh, it's helping osteoporosis, which is, I remember them telling me that when I was 18. We see imbalances in immune system. They will actually change your normal flora. So lots of gut problems develop after taking birth control. And this one's interesting. We actually wrote about this one.
Yeah.
Altered preference to your mate.
This is a fascinating one to actually break down if we have a second.
Okay? So if we have a second, where you have a thing called MHC, which is part of your immune system. It's blocked through, if you have fake hormones coming into your body, it will actually block your ability to let out a chemical signal, a pheromone, to attract somebody who's actually good for you.
A genetically appropriate mate, meaning that you will be naturally attracted to someone's smell that would be a genetically good match for you. But hormonal birth control actually blocks this, and so sometimes we've actually seen people clinically present, we got married, now we're trying to have a baby, I've lost all attraction for my husband, and we're trying to get pregnant, it's not working either.
Yeah.
Chemically, they just weren't appropriate for each other.
And some of the synthetic perfumes will also do the same. They're basically, they will disrupt your normal, wow, he smells good or she smells good. That is actually something that God built into us as a way to choose a good mate. And so birth control can alter your preference to viable mates, actually.
Or blind you to it.
Yep. Birth control increases your risk of breast, ovarian, and liver cancers. But Planned Parenthood told me that it would actually help me to prevent these things. No, not so. They lied. Birth control impairs our ability to build muscle despite exercise. And birth control can decrease sexual desire by suppressing testosterone. Even women need a little bit of testosterone, right?
That's true.
So, those are just a few of the things. I'm going to make it short because we've got this, but I found this really, really fascinating. So, this is from what was it? Human Life International, a website. It's a pro-life website. It was a very interesting research article. Dr. John Hildenbrand, an expert in the field of human reproduction, estimated that more than 500 women die every year because of pill-induced effects. This startling number is confirmed by figures provided by Alan Guttmacher Institute, the world's foremost abortion statistic analyzer, and one of the foremost abortionists in the United States, Warren Hearn. His textbook, Abortion Practice, contains figures that lead to the conclusion that more than 30,000 American women have died due to direct side effects of the pill since it was adopted in the United States, with a current average of about 600 to 700 deaths per year. Do you know that? It's safe, guys, safe and effective. It is ironic indeed that the same pill that the radical feminists push so hard as part of their solution to illegal abortion deaths now kills 5 to 7 times as many women per year as illegal abortions themselves did before Roe v. Wade. And with few minor exceptions, these feminists do not breathe a word about it. Okay? So there's more stuff there, but I just find that really, really fascinating.
While we land the plane, do we want to just tell them a couple ways that we can, simple ways that for men and women, we can, what are some easy ways that we can just get the low-hanging fruit to help improve our hormone health?
Move. Just move your body. Everybody should be putting muscle on their body, men and women. Muscle is good for preventing diabetes, balancing your hormone, getting your thyroid back in control. It is very, very important. You should have muscle on your body. Preventing osteoporosis, it's the number one way to prevent a fracture, is to put muscle on your body because it will stimulate bone growth. I think that's, if I had to say one thing, it'd be move.
What are some common foods that I would want to move towards, and maybe some foods that I'd want to avoid?
Very simply, no processed foods.
What do you mean by processed food?
Anything that has a shelf life, right? So aside from when we're storing grains at our house, like rice and
Maybe canned food,
beans and things like that, and we pressure cook
We can our own food.
yeah, we can our own food. Aside from that, I mean, we really try to eat, meat, vegetables,
Okay,
and small amounts of
enough carbs to keep you moving.
carbs.
Yeah.
Yep. You do need carbs. You definitely need carbs to think, and I'm in the carb camp, but
A lot of hormones are produced with a mix of carbohydrates and cholesterol.
yep.
So that was one thing when my wife and I met. I was training for kickboxing, martial arts. So I was on a very, very strict diet. I was very, very low in fat. And she was like, well, over time, that's actually going to harm your recovery and harm your testosterone. And I was going extreme, 6 egg whites and things like that, and eating 8 times a day. And anyway, yeah. And so she actually got me eating a bit more fat, and I'm about 15 pounds heavier than I was at my competition weight. But
Yeah. So
I don't have mood swings as much.
yeah, that. Well, because fat is a really good way to keep that blood sugar nice and even throughout the day, which we've talked about in our blood sugar series, and I think that's an important thing. Keeps you satisfied. There's basically 4 things that you need to eat with every meal to make sure that you feel satisfied. And if you don't have these 4 things in the meal, you're going to want to go snack later on. Okay?
What are those?
You ready? Protein. Okay, 4 things. 4 things. Are you ready? Protein, fat, fiber, greens. So my family knows that the first thing that I give them when they sit down is a handful of greens.
Yeah.
It's the first thing they have to eat, because I want to make sure every single meal I have has those 4 things in it so that I am full and satisfied. Part of the satisfaction is I'm not going to go snack in 30 minutes or an hour, And when we snack, do we go snack something healthy? No, we snack sugar or carbs because those are easy and quick because our blood sugar drops and then we want to eat more, right?
And it's fun and it feels good.
And it feels good,
It's self-soothing.
right? It's dopamine. It's
Yeah,
good.
turn to Jesus. Actually, a lot of this stuff really touches on next month's topic, doesn't it? Can you mention a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we basically have broken hormones into 2 topics because there's so much I want to say about the toxicity that we're facing, which Richard had spoke about, pesticides and even the toxic effects of long-term use of birth control. But pesticides, heavy metals, mold, all these different things. So we're going to be talking about that in our January session, and we'll kind of tie all of it together. So
Right.
instead of trying to cram it into this one, we're going to...
You could have great fundamentals, and you lived in the Flint, Michigan that nobody found out about 10 years ago, and maybe you still have a lot of that stuff in your system, and you can't figure out why nothing's
Does
working.
everybody know about Flint, Michigan's water supply? Does that make sense? Well,
There's a huge crisis. There's a bunch of lead and toxins in the water.
a bunch of toxins in the water, and the movie Aaron Brockovich, wasn't that?
No, that
was
was
a different one?
Yeah, that was an older one.
Okay,
There's been a ton of environmental disasters that some are famous, some aren't.
yeah. So we'll talk about that more on our next.
Yeah.
One.
So that's a huge factor in hormone health that might even be completely outside of anything that you're doing. That's something to look at. Once you're aware of it, there are definitely things, lifestyle things that you can do, and also things clinically that you can do to mitigate that and recover. So that's going to be next month.
That'll be next month. Okay, great.
Slide.
Slide. So we would like to bring up our speaker, Noelle Hounshell. I'm going to bring her up. Noelle, I wrote down everything that you said, but I can't find it, so I'm just going to wing what what you told me to say. So Noelle is just so lovely, and she's been married, I know, 26 years. Yes, Doug is her husband's name, and she's got 2 grown boys, and she is just so on fire for Jesus, which I love, and she is going to really speak to her journey with health and wellness and hormones. And I saw her speak a few weeks ago at her amazing conference that she co-founded with her best friend Tony, called Divinely Created. Highly recommend every woman in here. We will let you know when the next one's happening for sure. She's locking down the location. It'll be in February, the next one. But incredible conference, incredible women, lots of great information, and her talk was so good at that conference that I came up to her and I said, can you come and speak at Life Abundantly for us? And she agreed. And so, and then also, she owns Divine Thermography, and she's actually going to talk more about breast thermography and the dangers of mammograms and all of that kind of stuff at our next talk. So hold on to your hats for that. It's fantastic. But right now I want to welcome Noelle. Come on up. Give her that one.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. Can you turn that one off? All right.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Noelle, and if I'm speaking fast, you can come after and ask, can I take pictures of your notes? Because it was a 40-minute presentation 3 weeks ago, down to 11 minutes today. So how many of you would sit a little straighter at a wedding if you heard these words? I take this man to be my lawfully wedded husband, and I take this woman to be my lawfully wedded 4 wives. But seriously, women do have 4 distinct cycles every month as their hormones function. This is normal, and it really doesn't need to be something that's feared or avoided. Let me preface my talk and just my sharing with a short disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, and it's truly just my findings and my research and years of me wanting to do better for my family and for myself. I'm a huge advocate to just be a voice for yourself and for your health. And I want to do that because I want to support my body as God has woven each of us together divinely. Some of the things I share may ruffle some feathers. I'm pretty used to that. Take it in, process it, and filter it and see if there's more research that needs to be done that's worth your time, health, and wellness. So I'm going to start with story time. Over the past 15 years, I've come to recognize that what I eat, what I put on my body, which includes the clothes and the fibers, what I clean with, who I surround myself with. I know that's hard for some people to hear, but that does affect your health and wellness. How I fragrance my home, how I laundry, all directly impact my hormones. Likely, each of us needs to have a game changer or a shut the front door experience that throws us into radically but intentionally making changes. And for me, that was watching my mom have hormone-induced or menopause-induced migraines. And so I was willing to do everything in my ability to change that trajectory. And thus far, I just turned 50 this year. And so I'm fully into menopause. When Danny talked about that earlier, it's been well over a year for me that I haven't had a cycle, and I haven't had those life-stopping headaches, which for me is a huge win. But I know that there was intentional things that I've done the past 15 years of my life to have whole health. I'm a huge whole health person, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. So I'm going to give you guys some very tangible things, especially women, but men, as you support your women, it is a beautiful thing, and you will see benefits to you too if your woman is healthy in the hormone department. So first, understand that a really good time to better your wellness is today. Please don't go, I should have started 5 years ago or 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Today is a really good day to start. Second, be ready to be your best advocate. After the last 3 years, I hope that all of us are in a place where we can go, I will advocate for myself because I know my body best. So do the research. Find yourself a doctor who will support you being your best advocate. Actually, you get to fire and hire and be okay with that. You know yourself better than anyone else. Your practitioner should gladly include you in your health decisions. You can and should be an active voice at the table. You are a team. It's not a one-man show. Third, when you start addressing possible culprits to your hormone health, do it in baby steps, methodically, one thing at a time. Pick one area, focus on it before undertaking the next. Some people, when they hear me say that, they're super paralyzed. They're like, I don't even know where to start. So I'll just share with you that my first step was actually nutrition, because I knew what I put in my body was going to directly impact how I felt on the outside and consequently my family. So I like to live with an 85-15 or a 90-10 rule. And what I mean by that is 90% of the time we eat whole, local, organic, and fresh. It does take more time, but it's so worth it. So I know what we put in our bodies directly affects how we feel, and ultimately how my hormones and every other system operates in a thriving condition and not just a surviving. Then 10 to 15% of the time, we will splurge. So my son turned 23 this week, and we had birthday cake. And so that's the 10% or 15%. At Thanksgiving, one of my friends said, remember the 10 to 15%, Noelle, because I can get a little like, oh my gosh, everything has to be, she's like, remember the 10 to 15%. I'm like, yes, you're right. So a simple tip, the more home-cooked meals and less processed foods you ingest, you know the ingredients going into your bodies. So let me just give you a little example. How many of you buy bread at the store? Just raise your hands. Do you buy bread at the store? Anybody? Okay, a few of you do. Good. And generally speaking, how many ingredients? There's probably 6 to 10 ingredients in a loaf of bread, right? I mean, I'm sure you're not counting the back. Please tell me that you're not counting the back. But generally, there's 6 to 10 ingredients in a loaf of bread. And I'm just going to tell you that if you choose to make your own sourdough, which is not for everybody, so please don't walk away from this and go, oh my gosh, I got to start making sourdough bread now too. But if you make your own sourdough, there's 4 ingredients. Yes, just 4 ingredients. We all get to choose better. Yours may be sourdough bread or homemade laundry soap or canning your own veggies and fruit. You choose better, not out of guilt, but out of a commitment to take care of your body God's given you and the home He's blessed you to be gatekeepers over. When our hormones are humming along properly, then we tend to have happier bodies. Okay, so for women's hormones, traditionally, when a Western medicine doctor wants to run a test on hormones, it is looking at estradiol levels, and that's done through a blood test. Interestingly, this is the hormone they can manipulate through drugs. But to get a really good picture of your whole hormone health, you need to utilize more than just one test. So a really great example of an additional test is a Dutch test. It's an excellent test to discuss with your provider and to do research on yourself. It's actually an extensive urine test. You may be asking yourself, what more than childbirth and monthly menstruation do hormones have to do with my wellness? Well, did you know that if your hormones are out of balance, it could be a precursor to such cancers as breast cancer? When I started doing thermography, the research and all of the things that come along with that, because it's breast health, but I do thermography, and I'll talk about it more next month. But if your hormones are out of whack, and we can actually see that in the thermography if you have a hormone pattern, that is a precursor to breast cancer. So endocrine disruptors like glyphosate, better known as Roundup, that's put on crops like wheat, soy, corn, flax can be damaging to your bodies. So just a super quick biology lesson, the endocrine system releases hormones into the bloodstream. The endocrine hormones help control mood, growth and development, the way our organs work, metabolism, reproduction. So can you see how important just your hormones working well really impact your overall health? Okay, fun fact, estrogen is a group of 10 different hormones, which are chemically similar. So if we start to understand the estrone, estradiol, estriol, and 2-hydroxyestrone are a few of those estrogens, then we can better grasp how they work in harmony, and then in turn how our body is working in harmony too. Instead of focusing, this is super key, like for my wellness over the past 15 plus years, this is super key for my family and my wellness. Instead of focusing on the treatment of a disease like cancer and heart disease that are both linked to hormones out of balance, let's do better and focus on prevention and root cause. So here are 10 action steps you can take to support your body and strengthen your hormones. I totally forgot to say you guys can switch the slide to my family. I meant to say that 5 minutes ago, but I was trying to do it quick, so you can switch the slide to my family. But here are 10 action steps, and I will try and go through these slowly, but you're welcome to take screenshots. Number 1, take magnesium, either magnesium malate or glycinate. Women on average need about 320 milligrams daily, and that helps with PMS symptoms, helps your body maintain a healthy blood pressure, helps your brain communicate with your body, supports your heart to maintain a healthy heartbeat, and helps your muscles regulate their contractions. 2, manage your emotions. Fight or flight, constant on edge, or conflict situations are directly linked to your hormone health. When you lower your stress, you naturally drive your progesterone lower. When your body is stressed, it works to produce higher levels of the hormone cortisol, which manages stress. When cortisol levels jump higher, progesterone levels plummet. 3, trust your gut. I am a huge one to advocate for people. Listen to your gut. Remember when I told you earlier, you know your body than anyone else? You do believe that. You know how it should be operating. I want people to start listening to that because the Lord will tell you when things are off. Number 4, I use a product called Progessence Plus. It's a serum made with natural bioidentical progesterone from wild yam extract. That was really my first step to make sure that I wasn't going to get those migraines, but so many other layers went into it. Our eating, moving, detoxing our home of toxins and chemicals. Okay, number 5. Remove fluoride from your home as it's a known neurotoxin. 6, remove hormone mimickers or synthetics from your home and life. Examples of that are fragrance plugins, deodorant with aluminum, chemically filled laundry soap, candles. I had a friend who actually had a memory foam mattress, and they had multiple miscarriages, and they could not figure out why. Other than that, she was totally healthy. And as she did her research, she found that actually their memory foam mattress was a contributor to them having these miscarriages. And when they got rid of that, she actually conceived. So does that stuff matter? It does. Number 7, feed your body 3 nutrient-rich meals a day plus healthy snacks. Your meals, have them include grass-fed beef, raw milk, olive and coconut oil, avocados, things that actually will nourish your body. Number 8, eat more estrogenic foods like sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds. Number 9, this is hard for some people, especially people who are very relational, but setting healthy boundaries around your time and who you surround yourself with. You're doing that for you to be healthy. It's really not up to the other person. You're doing that for you to be whole healthy. Schedule downtime to refresh and renew. And at my conference, I just said at this number 9, I said, intentionally make time to laugh and enjoy your husband. Life can be super serious and stressful, so make time to laugh together. Number 10, make a habit of listening to your body. It is very, very good at telling you what needs attention. Listen with your ears, your mind, your heart. Anything that you can do to reduce inflammation will decrease the demand on your hormonal system. And 11, you guys get a bonus. Add the combo of iodine and 2 to 3 Brazil nuts daily. Iodine and selenium, which is naturally occurring in Brazil nuts, together helps in the oxidation of iodide to iodine. This combo contributes to a happy, healthy thyroid, which is directly linked to your hormones. My heart for women, and obviously I'm married for 26 years for men, but I speak generally when I do my conferences for women. My heart for women is to be whole healthy and in turn have happy hormones. Sorry, this is what happens when you turn 50. So have happy hormones, and those stem from my own desire to dig in and figure out how I can support my body with options that work with my body and actually not against it. I want to challenge you to ask questions, be in prayer, dig until you find the answers for you,